guys, and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. I'm really excited about these meals because they're all super different and nothing that I've ever done before. I did want to let you guys know before we jump into this video that you're going to see multiple kitchens that are different throughout this film, and that is just simply due to the fact that my husband, myself, and my baby, we went on a road trip from Utah to New Mexico. So our first stop was Colorado, so we drove from Utah to Colorado, and I filmed in my family's cabin there for a few days, and then from Colorado we went down to New Mexico and I filmed the rest of the meals here in my mom's kitchen in New Mexico. So all these meals are really yummy and budget friendly. I hope you guys all enjoy them, and if you are new here, I'd love to have you over at my channel, so go ahead and subscribe down below the video. But now let's get cooking some What's for Dinner. To get this week kicked off, we just made some homemade grilled salmon on the barbecue. I did show this recipe a few times before on my channel over here, so I will link one of those videos down below if any of you guys missed it. It is really my favorite grilled salmon recipe, but I just served it alongside of a side salad and a little bit of tartar sauce to dip that salmon in. And then of course, you guys already know I'm using this Bolthouse Farms Classic Ranch to dress my salad. For this night's dinner, now we are over at the cabin and we're making a brand new lasagna recipe that I've actually never made before. So I'm just starting out by dicing a half of a sweet onion up into small pieces. Over to my saucepan right here, I just poured a little bit of canola oil on that bottom of the pan, and then I just added in our pound of ground beef and I kind of broke it up, and then I added our diced onions right in there along with our 3 cloves of garlic. I just squeezed that in, and then I cooked this hamburger all the way through. Now that our hamburger is cooked through, I just drained out all the grease, and then I added in this jar of marinara sauce. You could simply add any type of marinara sauce your family prefers. Now I'm just adding in about 1/4 cup of some beef broth, and I'm going to let this come up to a simmer. Meanwhile, I just had this large pot of some water boiling up, and then I added in our 9 lasagna noodles and cooked them through. Nobody wants a bland lasagna, so let's start seasoning. I'm just adding a 1/2 teaspoon of some sea salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and then 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme, and then 1/2 teaspoon of some granulated sugar, and then I let that simmer. Let's begin on our cheese sauce now. So I'm adding in about 15 ounces of reduced fat or coated cheese in this large bowl, along with about 16 ounces of some cottage cheese. Next, I added in about 3½ cups of this mozzarella cheese, and then I gave it a good stir. This recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley. I didn't have any fresh parsley on hand, so I added about 1/2 teaspoon of the dried stuff, and then I'm just adding in our 1 egg, and then I'm just going to stir all this to combine. Nothing much to this step, but we're just going to start assembling our lasagna. So I put 3 of those lasagna noodles down, and then our meat sauce followed by our cheese mixture, and then I did this again and again until everything was pretty much all gone. Now that our lasagna is assembled, I'm just adding 1/2 cup more mozzarella cheese on top because I love mozzarella. And then you guys could see right here, I'm adding in about 9 toothpicks, and I'm just sticking them in. And then I'm putting aluminum foil on top, and the toothpicks are just so that the aluminum foil does not stick to the cheese while it is baking. Now that our lasagna is totally cooked through, I just sprinkled some parsley on top for color, and then of course I removed the toothpicks, but here's my plate all plated up. We just served it alongside of a side salad and some garlic toast. This meal was delicious. For this cabin dinner, we made some steak, normal salad, along with some pasta salad. I'm going to show you guys how to make this super simple pasta salad though. So into a pot of some boiling water, I'm adding about 12 ounces of some pasta. I just used this type of pasta, but you could use any type of pasta you guys have on hand. And I let this boil up and cook through. Moving over to our cooking pan, I'm just adding about 8 ounces of bacon, and I'm going to be cooking it all the way through. You want this bacon a little bit crispy. You could also use pre-cooked bacon. That would work well for this recipe. While our bacon and our pasta were cooking, I just added about 2 cups of these frozen peas to this pot. Now that our peas and pasta salad are finished cooking, I just strain them in our strainer, and then I just let them cool down on my counter for about 10 minutes, and then I put them in my refrigerator to totally chill for about 2 hours. Now we're going to start on our lemon parmesan dressing, and this is what really kicks this recipe up a notch in my opinion. So we're just adding about 2/3 cup of mayonnaise to this bowl, along with a couple tablespoons of canola oil. This original recipe calls for about 1/3 cup of olive oil though. We just did not have any olive oil on hand, unfortunately. And then I'm just adding in about 1/4 cup of some Parmesan cheese. Next, we'll just be adding the juice of 1 lemon. I did want to let you guys know all of these recipes and measurements will be linked down below in my description box, and if you ever have trouble finding these recipes, just let me know in the comments down below and I will give you these recipes directly, just so you know you could get the measurements correct. To season this up, I just added about 1 teaspoon of dried basil along with 1 teaspoon of dried chives, and then 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and sugar. This recipe also calls for 1 tablespoon of white vinegar. Unfortunately, we didn't have any white vinegar, along with 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard. Unfortunately, we did not have any of that either, so we just made do with what we had, and then I just whisked this all together to combine. This pasta salad dressing is best chilled, so I just put this cling wrap on top of it and just placed it in my refrigerator for about 30 minutes. Now that everything is completely chilled, I just pulled it out of the fridge. I added the peas on top, followed by the bacon, and then all of that salad dressing, I just gave it a good stir, and then it was ready to serve. Here's my plate all plated up. I just served that pasta salad along with that steak and the side salad. This meal was so good. I didn't show us making that steak just because my dad made it. For this night's dinner at the cabin, we made these stuffed Tuscan chicken breasts. To begin, I am just chopping up about 4 cups of some fresh spinach. This recipe called for about 1/2 cup of frozen spinach, but I didn't have any of that on hand. I just added our finely chopped spinach to this large bowl along with our 4 ounces of cream cheese. This is softened cream cheese. You want to make sure your cream cheese has been sitting out for a while just so it is pretty soft. And then I added in about 1/2 cup of mozzarella cheese, followed by 1/3 cup of some Parmesan cheese, and then for the sun-dried tomatoes, it is just about 1/3 cup of those. To season this up, I'm just adding about 1/2 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, followed by 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, and then I just gave this a really good stir so that cream cheese got incorporated with all of the rest of the ingredients. Now I'm using about 5 mediums to small sized chicken breasts, and you're just going to be cutting a pocket in each of these chicken breasts on the side just like that. And once you're through doing that to all your chicken, you're just going to season it with a little bit of some salt, pepper, and paprika, and then you're going to begin to stuff them with that yummy cream cheese mixture. You're going to want to pretty much generously stuff these chicken breasts because that mixture is so delicious. This part is very important to do. Now I just have my toothpicks and I'm sticking about 3 toothpicks in each of these chicken breasts where we cut the pockets just so that yummy cream cheese mixture does not spill out and make a mess while you are baking these. I did bake these up like this because I really didn't want any of that mixture to spill out. Here's my plate all plated up. We just served it alongside of a side salad with Italian dressing and some mashed potatoes. This chicken was spot on perfect. It was so delicious and flavorful. Moving over to my mom's kitchen in New Mexico, we made this chicken tortellini with a tomato cream sauce. To start this recipe, you're going to want about 3 cups of some shredded chicken. The way I'm doing that is in my Instant Pot with 2 large chicken breasts that are frozen. I just added a cup of water with a little bit of some salt and pepper and let that cook. While our chicken was almost finished cooking in the Instant Pot, I started on our sauce mixture, and what I added was just some olive oil along with our diced onion and then our 3 cloves of garlic. I gave it a good stir, and then I added in our 2 cans of diced tomatoes. I did want to let you know I did double this recipe just because I was cooking for a little bit more people on this night. And then I added in our sugar along with our fresh basil leaves and oregano leaves. Just a little side note for you, if you don't have fresh oregano or basil, you could definitely use the dried stuff and it will still come out fine. I just stirred this up and let it come to a simmer. Over to a large pot of some boiling water, I just added in this container of cheese tortellini and just let it cook all the way through. I did get this container from Costco. Once our sauce was simmering for about 5 minutes, I added about a cup of this heavy whipping cream with about a tablespoon of butter, and then I just stirred it all together, and then I added in our shredded chicken that we cooked in our Instant Pot, and then I just let this simmer all together for about 5 more minutes. Here's my plate all plated up. I just served it alongside of a side salad with some ranch dressing. To be quite honest with you guys, this meal was good. It really wasn't my favorite meal out of the entire week. I did think it lacked in flavor a little bit, and the sauce wasn't quite creamy like the recipe described. For this nice dinner, we made some super easy Mongolian beef. To begin this recipe, we're starting with our brown rice. So into my Instant Pot, I just added 2 cups of rinsed brown rice along with 2.5 cups of water. And then I'm adding 2 tablespoons of some olive oil. If any of you guys are considering getting an Instant Pot, I really do recommend it. At first, I had mine for about 6 months and I was totally scared to use it, but I am so thankful I finally pulled it out of storage and started using it a few months ago. So I just put the lid on, set it to sealing, high pressure for about 24 minutes. Now let's begin with our produce. I'm just chopping up my fresh ginger. This is about a teaspoon of ginger, and I have my 5 cloves of garlic right there, and then I'm slicing up my little bushel of green onions. Now that we're finished chopping all of that up, I just have my flank steak right here. This is about 1.5 pounds of that. I did get this at Smith's, the grocery store. It was about $14 altogether, and now we're gonna start slicing it. You're gonna wanna slice it diagonally just like this. Now that everything is sliced up, I just put it in this large glass bowl, and you're going to be adding about 1/4 cup of this cornstarch, and you're just going to stir everything around to coat it in the cornstarch. Over here to my saucepan, I'm just adding in about 3 tablespoons of some vegetable oil, and I just let that come up to heat on medium-high. Flank steak is supposed to be cooked hot and fast, so I just added in my flank steak. I did do this in batches, and once it was cooked through, I just put it on a separate plate and set it aside. Now that our flank steak is finished cooking, I'm just going to start on our sauce. So to this little bowl, I'm adding in about 1/2 cup of brown sugar, followed by 1/2 cup of low sodium soy sauce, and then 1/4 cup of water. Next, you're just going to be adding in your chopped up minced ginger and then your minced garlic. And then you're just going to stir everything together. Back over to my saucepan that we cooked our flank steak on, I just added that sauce mixture and I just kind of stirred it together until it came up to a simmer just like that. Then you're going to be adding your flank steak on in there with it, and you're going to stir that flank steak around until that sauce begins to thicken, and then you're going to be adding your green onions once the sauce is thick. Here is my plate all plated up. I just served this alongside of some steamed broccoli and on a bed of some brown rice. This came out so delicious. Next time I would just add some more green onions just because I like them so much, but this recipe was a total hit. For our meatless meal out of the week, we made sweet potato black bean enchiladas. To start this recipe out, you're just going to peel and chop your sweet potatoes. I used about 7 to 8 smaller sized sweet potatoes, and you do want them just little tiny, just like this, so they cook perfectly. The next thing you're going to chop up is an onion. I just chose to do 1 whole sweet onion, but you could use any type of onion you guys prefer. Into my saucepan with some oil heated up, I just added in our onion and I just stirred it around until it got nice and translucent. So then for the seasonings, I just added about a pinch of some salt and pepper, and that's really all the recipe called for. I did think it needed some more seasoning, so I added about 1/2 teaspoon of this chili powder along with 1/2 teaspoon of some ground cumin. And then next I just stirred it together, and then I added in my 3 cloves of minced garlic. Now I'm adding in our chopped sweet potatoes along with 2/3 cup of vegetable broth. You could also use chicken broth if that's what you guys have on hand. Next I'm adding in my drained and rinsed can of corn along with my can of enchilada sauce. Next, you're just going to be stirring this all together until those potatoes get nice and fork tender, about 15 minutes. Now we're going to begin to assemble our enchiladas. So I have some of this red chili enchilada sauce I'm going to pour on the bottom of my 9x13 baking dish, just like this, and then I'm going to spread it out a little. And then I have my corn tortillas. I'm going to put some of that potato and pinto bean mixture in it, and then going to just put it on the bottom of my baking dish. If you guys want to use flour tortillas, that would work just fine in this case. Now that we're finished with our enchiladas, I'm going to pour that red sauce back on top. As you guys could see, I didn't pour it all over the enchiladas because some people just simply didn't want red sauce on theirs, and that's fine. And then I added about 2 cups of some cheese on top and then stuck it in my oven to bake. it is out of the oven. I just served it alongside of some cherry tomatoes, sour cream, guacamole, and cilantro. This was so delicious, and for a meatless meal, it definitely did not lack in flavor. For this night's dinner, we just got some Dion's Pizza. It is the local pizza place here in New Mexico, and it is really delicious. I believe they also have some locations in Colorado. I really recommend this pizza place. We just got a couple of pizzas with pepperoni, sausage, green chili, and then a Hawaiian. But we just got a side salad to go alongside, and I just thought some of you guys might be interested in seeing my family. So here is my little daughter, Brinley. She just ate a little bit of cheese, and then here is my sweet mom. She helped me cook a few times during the week, and then my little sister, she also helped me cook, and then my dad, and then of course you guys already know my crazy husband, Will. And just like that wraps up this week's What's for Dinner. I hope you guys all enjoyed it and got a little bit of some meal inspiration out of it. I'm super excited to share next week's video with you guys, and I'd love to have you here, so go ahead and subscribe down below the video. But I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.